I don't understand why. So it just kept saying live stream unavailable. Magic. I was thinking YouTube's live stream server was down. Maybe it was glitching. So it just kept saying live stream unavailable. Hey, look, it seems to be working. Magic. I was thinking YouTube's live stream server was down. Maybe it was glitching. It's all right. Ooh, cool. The loop is infinite. We're stopping that. All right. We're actually turned sound off on my computer. Hello. Let's see if the chat works. You think so? All right. Hey. Yeah, so I don't know. The live stream just was, I kept hitting it. It kept not going. It just kept telling me live stream unavailable. That's all I would get out of YouTube. So I had a vague error message. And then it would bring me back, not to the live stream page, but it was redirecting me to the, there's more than one live stream page. It redirected me to the other one. Turn my phone off. There we go. So we'll start with Happy 4th of July for everyone in the U.S. and technically, happy 4th of July for everyone outside the U.S. So for those of you who, I don't know that anyone's not familiar with it, but for the most part, probably you know in America we celebrate 4th of July. It's a big holiday where we celebrate people losing their fingers because by the end of today there's going to be a lot of people with less than 10. It's a sad historical fact about the 4th of July because we love fireworks here. Hey, awesome. I got, yeah, we'll blame Cloudflare. We'll go with that. I got people from Germany, Sweden, all kinds of fun. Happy 4th. So, let's see. Yeah, German, Sweden. Awesome. Lots of people. Yeah. British, we don't celebrate the 4th of July for some unknown reason over in England. Yeah, this is when the British people are like, oh, the colonists are getting rowdy. They, yeah, this is probably not the most celebrated day in England. I don't know if we're going to wreck a printer or not. It really isn't on our to-do list because I don't even think we have a printer to wreck. So that's definitely going to put a stomp on that. I don't know. We talked about doing some fireworks stuff, and then we all kind of went our own way and said each one of us had something to do today. So I don't know if that will occur or not. If I had a Cisco router, I'd love to destroy it with fireworks. That would be great. We don't really do anything today in the UK. Well, you'd still, my friend from the UK that he lives here, and he's like, we have that same holiday. I go, you do? He goes, yeah, we just call it the 4th of July. I'm like, oh, okay. It's just 4th of July everywhere. I'm like, I get it. It's not a cleverly named holiday for sure. So that's definitely a thing. So I was listening to, and this is funny because I was listening to the Security Now podcast before I got here, which I kept having to move the live stream a little bit over because stuff kept happening this morning. Got to run people here, had to drive someone there, et cetera, et cetera. But let's look at, this was just crazy. And it's this company called, and it's just worth mentioning here, because people ask me about this crap all the time. And here's another company, and it actually has a nice design, a nice looking website, nice looking products. There's some type of home security. And, you know, these are apparently, I don't use any of this stuff, by the way, but apparently this is popular smart home stuff. What's interesting is just the amount of data they're collecting. And the fact that it's not even being secured. So one, why are they collecting so much data? Two, wow, there's like 2 billion records and they're all publicly available and it's just a big mess. I'm like, this is the problem with all these smart home stuff to me. And this is why there's not any of it at my house. People ask me about it all the time. And, you know, I do some videos about how to put IoT on it. But honestly, the attack vector, that's a minor risk, saying, oh no, the IoT's on the same network, it could potentially attack. That's what I'm worried about. I'm like, you're worried about the wrong thing. And I've had a discussion with some of my security friends. It's like people go nuts about worrying about the wrong thing frequently. And they get so much attention. Oh no, we have to put it on an isolated network and lock it down, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, it's log, it doesn't matter. If you have to give it access to the internet or it doesn't work, so you can't just turn it off, because then it wouldn't turn on your lights. It wouldn't do whatever the magic that this thing does. But it is absolutely collecting email addresses, passwords, account reset, geolocation, username ID, family name, family ID, smart device, scheduling information. So all your data is just being dumped into a big public database where people have information and access to this. And of course, because they're not even using a salt with their MD5 hashes, in the MD5 algorithm, they didn't use good security, so people can guess your passwords and then take control of it and use your account login. And this, my friends, is what you should be worried about with IoT. Way more trouble than putting it on another network is completely, it's logging everything. So, yeah, that is the, Guy Fawkes says hi. Remember the 5th of November. More cameras to turn up on Shodan. It doesn't sound like they have a security problem like that. It's just their database is publicly available. So run your own servers. Yeah, China's collecting this data, that's for sure. That's where it's all some Chinese company, and it's all based out of Shenzhen. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. Shenzhen. And they are just data warehousing all the information they collect on it for whatever reason. Yeah, China collecting data. Blow stuff up here in the U.S. We'll go with that. It's going to definitely be a mess with 4th of July. Fireworks, they legalized them here in Michigan. They used to have a lot of restrictions, but we're close to the Ohio border where we are, and so everyone would just go about half an hour south and purchase all the stuff. And they eventually said, well, this seems kind of pointless, so they made them legal here. And it's funny, the first couple of years it was nuts where everyone did it, and it's kind of like, oh, well, the fun's over. It's actually funny because it used to be like a giant disaster for like a week before and a week after, and now it's kind of like calmed down a little bit. I think some people got out of their system. It is funny that there's a lot of fireworks still going off. It's just this constant, every night you're just like people in their backyards shooting off those fireworks and everything. So it's entertaining. But this whole Orvibo thing is just, I don't know. It's kind of messy. I don't really get it. I'm getting ready, though. So what am I doing? Clear. There we go. Log into this. So I have been playing with the Pi, and the Pi has 0 tier on it. So I have some videos I was going to do because I thought about this. And there's different ways to do it, but this might be a fun video where, so NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL, had a Raspberry Pi that was doing something. So I thought about building like a reconnaissance Pi as a project and showing you easy ways to get it set up and showing you that it would basically use something like 0 tier and make an easy pivot into a network. And the reason for this sometimes is it's an easy device to drop off at a client, not for nefarious reasons, but as I said, client. It's to scan their network, have an easy way to proxy into their network to get things done. And this is, I don't know, I like 0 tier a lot. It's very simple. It doesn't have to do any special firewall mapping or anything like that. But having access inside of a network to have a separate device that I can use to access things and basically get to things inside there would be kind of cool. We're also ordering, as soon as they're available, the Raspberry Pi 4 gig because we think that would be a really cool, inexpensive device to kind of do the same thing. And I haven't tried this yet, but I'm curious if like the Raspberry Pi 4 will run the X connector, what is that stuff? The remote desktop for Linux. And I thought that might be kind of a neat. So you actually have a remote desktop on a small power that you can kind of just say, hey, we're going to use X to go, set that up on here, and be able to just jump into it and have access and a machine inside their network that I can just leave there. The thing's $45, so you're not heavily invested into it. It's not like you're dumping a whole computer there, but you'll have something good enough to be able to access and monitor and do things inside their network without having to, VPN tunnel in or take over another computer. So you want to be able to just go and ping things, or if you're doing any type of network enumeration with like Nmap, that can take a while, especially to do a long scan. Or thought about doing some vulnerability scanning with it, and it might be kind of fun. And on the flip side, I want to do some Raspberry Pi honeypots. A few people ask me about Raspberry Pi videos, and I've been wanting to do a few more. So Raspberry Pi honeypot seems like a kind of a fun one out there. And it's kind of a neat idea to have a Raspberry Pi honeypot. And the reason why, you set up a few services on there, you set some alerts, you stick it in your network. If those alerts go off, someone's on your network. Or something, because it tried to do, some passwords or whatever. So it's a good, what they refer to as IOC, or indicator of compromise. It's not a preventative measure. Honeypots are used pretty much strictly as just an indicator of compromise. Basically, a panic attack, if you will. If for some reason someone's trying to SSH and you don't know who that someone is, you have a problem. Or if it happens at 2 a.m. while you were asleep and you're like, why did I get an alert? I'm not SSHing to something local on my network. Let's talk about that. So in Kent, Washington, they banned it. Yeah. So that's it. They ban fireworks in some places. They don't like freedom. Hey, it's Sergio. So thanks for work as an IT government company in Portugal. I struggle to get free MS proprietary software solution in favor of open source ones. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of governments that are really slow to switch. Oh, rethink all your security procedures. Please do. Always be thinking about that all the time. So, yeah, $55 for the 4 gig. That's a great price on that Raspberry Pi. I definitely like that. Oh, cool. Netgate appliance. Neat. I still have, and I haven't done a video on this. Oh, and it didn't switch this video view. Anyways, I haven't done a video on this, but I have I want to do a follow-up on the Netgate SG1100. I've been using it at my home for a while. I've had zero problems with it. I mean, it's not too surprising. It's a quality device. But follow-up videos are definitely important for things like that. So that is definitely something I want to do. Just kind of follow up like what I've changed on it, what I've done to it. But I also have, because we've loaded it up in the rack over here, we're going to do some more Untangle videos because people are not really driving me nuts. It doesn't bother me, but it's like I answer the question in YouTube comments constantly, Twitter tags, and just other people who decide that that's what they think they should use my messages for. Like they try to direct message me all the time. They going, I want filtering, I want per machine filtering. Well, it just doesn't work well in pfSense. It's not, I hate Squid for the most part, and it's a lot of work, it's a pain in the butt, but in Untangle, they've done a much more robust implementation of it, so I'm going to show how to do filtering with Untangle. It just has a lot of features that make it really nice, and for people who need that level of granular filtering and website filtering, and they need all the feeds to keep it up to date, because that's the other problem with trying to manually manage them all in Squid. They've automated a lot of that process. That is what the fee you pay Untangle is for, but it's a good solution, and we've done Untangle installs for that reason. No, you can't run pfSense on the Pi 4. There's no BSD specifically for it. Not to mention the Pi 4, they changed the design so the networking is going to be faster, but it's not the ideal way to do it. It's not built. It's going to have a lot of problems because you're only sharing a single network adapter, but then you can offload it to a USB, but it's not the ideal design for that. So it's better suited. Matter of fact, if you go over to Netgate, I think they have them still. Let's take a look here. Appliances, do they still have? Maybe they don't have them anymore. Or they have them listed under here. So they did have some of the small it's not Raspberry Pis, I'm saying it wrong. Get started products. I can't remember the name of the board. It's the board that the SG1100 is based on. You can buy that board yourself, but by the time you buy it and get the parts, you may as well, and I'll hit buy direct right here, see what the price is. It's barely, I mean, okay, it's like $100 by the time you buy all the little pieces you need versus this is $159 complete and working. It's $159 to me for a router that does everything this does is outstanding. And this has that 2.5 gig backplane. I don't know if the backplane is really as well suited on a Raspberry Pi. Like, yeah, you can build a router with a Pi, you can build a router on a stick, and you can make it all work, but it's not this. It's very hacky and doesn't feel as complete, is the way I would describe it. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a bad idea just to goof around with, but it's not near as good. It's like for $59 more by the time, well, I know Raspberry Pi only $50, but still $50 router, you still got to buy at least one extra network interface on there, unless you want to try and tag and split it with VLANs. You could do that, but or not tag it and just have different routing, but then everything conflicts. I don't think it's going to make a great device. Not for that. I think Raspberry Pi is a great device. It's just that's not what you're trying to use it for something it's probably not best suited for. Yeah, I know. I see someone pointed out Pi has USB 3 and a real gigabit LAN, and I don't know if this is still true. One of the problems was you couldn't use simultaneously both of them, so you weren't able to pass a gig through it. Matter of fact, I'm not sure what the throughput is on it, but I don't know that it would work for the speed issues. One of the problems before with the Pi was the way the bus was shared, and it would try to switch between them, and you end up with a really much slower transport because of the bus having to switch back and forth because the backplane couldn't handle the data going across. How many vCPUs would you put in a FreeNAS VM on XCP? 4. Depends. FreeNAS doesn't require that many processors, and it also you can put 4 in that are fast, or if you have a slow system with a lot of CPUs, you can put more in there. 4, 6, 8. It really depends on what you're running inside of it. Our FreeNAS system doesn't really do much. So if you look at ours, which does have a lot more cores than it needs, you'll log into it here. So here's my FreeNAS system, and if we were to look at the CPU and the memory usage, it's just flat. So this is a 24 cores, way overkill. This is not virtualized, this is on real hardware. And yeah, the CPU just doesn't ever do anything. It's just like sadly low, like 4, ooh, this is, it's just idling all the time. So it really depends on what you're doing. Now, I don't run VMs inside of here. So if you go over here and we look at the virtual machines, you'll see there's a lack of them. So not much VMs in use. 0. I don't know. I know it keeps getting better, but I have not spent much time with it. I know it's just not. I have my XCP-ng server, so it's like I haven't really dug into troubleshooting it. As a matter of fact, a lot of people want me to do videos because of all the problems they're having with it. And my friend Tony has spent some time on it, and he's, working his way through it, but he himself says it's just buggy. And I don't really have time for something that's really, really buggy when I have something that works really, really well. Maybe I'll give it a go at some point, but I don't know what I would run inside of it, because if it's not very stable, it doesn't have easy ways to move VMs around, to move them to another system like with ease, like I do with XCP-ng, or really any other hypervisor. This one's very far behind. I mean, VirtualBox works really well. Proxmox is popular. My friend Jay uses it both in a lab and in a large production environment for a company. They like it. It works well. And I use XCP-ng, and many people use it in very, very large, high-scale environments, and it works well. So I'm glad it's coming along. I think it's a cool add-on, but it's really not where I'm going to spend my primary time because, well, it needs some work. It needs to get things more up to date to get that working. Okay, the Raspberry Pi 4 bus is not shared anymore. Cool. Yeah, well, allergies. That's what's making my nose run a little bit. Frequently, I don't always do videos first thing in the morning because sometimes I go through a little bit of sneezing. There's those, I don't know what they're calling, like the little fuzzy things the wind blows around. They're from Popular Trees. I don't know. They really make my nose itchy. So iPerf, yeah, I mean, I imagine iPerf would. iPerf would probably get the Raspberry Pi connecting at that speed, but can it pass the data and apply any rules to it at that speed? The other challenge you run into is it's all ARM and BSD, and Linux works well on ARM. BSD is catching up with it. Matter of fact, this is something about the people over at pfSense do contribute back to the ARM implementation of BSD. So because they're building these machines on it, they're also troubleshooting and have upstream pushes that go, hey, these are changes we need in BSD. So you have a good relationship there, so they're helping to develop it, which is good because that's what we want to see is, more ARM development. I think is great because the ARM processors, Raspberry Pi and a lot of the, Pine 64 and all these other new, smaller single-board computers coming out, it would be great to see not just Linux on them, but other operating systems such as BSD. Do I think OpenStack is dead? I don't know. I don't really deal with OpenStack. So let's see. FreeNAS, could we connect in an external USB stick to make a copy of data stored in the data set so it's external disk? Yeah, it's not really designed to do that. That's not how it works. You can. You can mount USBs, you can do that. It's not native to the system. It's not impossible to do. It's just not something built into the system to do that. So plugging in external USB, it works. It's going to be slower. Ideally, everything's got a network adapter on it. So however you want to copy the data, copy it to something else with another network adapter. So that's more the ideal way to it. Now, a project I think is kind of cool is, people ask me about this, and I said I don't have a use case for it, but there is kind of a use case that I'll cover here in a second. Actually, let me answer one more question. Been watching your videos for a while, been in the MSP space for about 3 years, looking to go off on my own. Any sage advice? Make sure you're ready to do it because I hate my job is not a business plan. There's my sage advice I tell everyone who tells me I want to go off on my own. I hate my job is not a business plan. I have repeated that. I speak at entrepreneurial things. It's they glamorize too much. Like everyone should be an entrepreneur. It's the next best thing. And there's a billion books. Matter of fact, I think where the real money is made in the entrepreneurial system sometimes is in people shucking crap. Like, here's the book, this 1, 2, 3 step guide to becoming, self-employed business owner, blah, blah. Now, there's a lot to it. It is rewarding. It is a fun thing to do, but it is also not for everybody. You have to be very disciplined, motivated, be able to deal with a lot of things and focus, because once you don't have a boss, you have to tell yourself that you're going to be here at 8:25 a.m. on July 4th and do a live stream. You have to decide that you're going to do things. So it just makes sure you're prepared overall for it, not just I don't like the place I work. Because I myself, probably if the company I worked for didn't go bankrupt, I probably wouldn't have ventured as much into, entrepreneurship. And I have friends like that. They love their jobs. They're never considered it. They're like, I thought about it, but then I switched jobs and I'm like, I make a really good living and it's all great and I'm happy. I mean, because nothing's perfect. Just because I own the business doesn't mean I'm 100% satisfied all the time with everything. Sometimes it's kind of be cool to go, you know what would be great? Not worrying about payroll on Friday. I'm not in a point I really worry about it, but it's the same concept. You're always thinking about where you're going to take the company next, all the people that rely on my company for things, not just customers, but, the people I employ, they rely on a paycheck, they rely on, the company keep moving forward and giving out raises and things like that. So those are important things. So those are all my sage advice I offer. Okay. 3 p.m. I don't know where there is, but awesome. I'm guessing in Europe. Awesome. XCP-NG Home Lab. No specific timing. I go live every Thursday. I've been trying to do it around 3 or 4 on Thursdays. Every Thursday, even if it's a holiday. But then the live time on holidays because there's just too much. I have a bunch of stuff going on at 3 today, so I said, well, I'll do it in the morning because it helps out my friends in Europe. And maybe I should do them in the morning more. I don't know. I'm always trying to decide on that. I will admit, because I usually have a much bigger, I think my last audience was closer to 200, so maybe it's less people now and more people if I do it later. I don't know. So let's see here. Open Sesame. So people ask me about Open Media Vault, and it doesn't run ZFS, despite all the messages I get telling me it does. It doesn't. So, I mean, I imagine you could hack it on there, but it's not a default feature. But this is something kind of novel about Open Media Vault that I like. Let's see, what do they have here? Create SPStick, ISO, PGP. So they have this, which I thought was kind of cool. So they have the Open Media Vault for the Raspberry Pi. So that's kind of neat. They also have it for, with these Odroids, or hold on, Odroid images. What is the list of them they have here? Nano, Express, Espresso boards. That's what I was looking at. The Espresso boards are the ones that are more suited to build routers and you can use pfSense on. Banana Pi, Pine 64. We looked at, we were going to do a build with one of these with Open Media Vault. Why did I didn't switch cameras? I'm over here at Open Media Vault, sorry. We were looking at doing a couple of these. And if you aren't familiar with, like, the Pine 64, so if you go here, cool. Oh, it's my daughter messaging me. Pine 64. And they have these pretty cool single board computers like this. And you can get SATA connectors on them. Well, you can get a project. So they have the NAS project on here. There we go. Oh, that's just clicks to the website. Anyways, they have a whole kit that you can get, and I thought it was kind of cool. Actually, I'll probably find someone who's done one. 64 Open Media Vault. There we go. This is kind of a neat use case for Open Media Vault, is getting, there's no pictures. Someone should have a picture of this somewhere. You know what? I know where to find it. Image search. Hopefully nothing not safe comes up. Anyways, you can use Open Media Vault on one of these and build a really low-powered, tiny little NAS system. And I thought this is kind of neat if you had, like, if you, okay, it's the Odroid HC1. Awesome. So it's kind of neat that you would go in there and, you know, build a low-powered system that I have somewhere for storage. Let's say, you know, you need to set up an encrypted system. You want offsite storage. You don't want to just stick it in the cloud. You could send all the data to an Open Media Vault that you have, maybe that you leave in your friend's house, and it, you know, a couple of watts because it's a tiny little device. Very cool idea. Downside is, and someone asked right here, someone asked, oh, Plex. Yes, but do they have Plex support for the Pi? I don't know if the 4 is going to be fast enough, but the transcoding is a time when you need more processors. For example, running Plex in FreeNAS. Great idea. Works great. But you're going to need a fast enough processor to do that. Sorry, I need more coffee. So you need a fast enough processor. So Plex is going to probably be a problem. I don't know if the 4 will work. Also, I don't know if they have Plex compiled for ARM. That's a different topic altogether. So if they don't have Plex compiled for ARM, it's not going to work at all. I use OpenMedia because it's small and runs on older kits. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a neat little thing, the Open Media Vault. It's kind of nice. If you have low power basic system, cool. But it's kind of like one of those, you have to have a use case for it. Hey, awesome. More people wishing happy 4th. Open Media Vault for my NAS server, quad core Celeron, da-da-da-da. Yep. But you can build, and we're going to cover some FreeNAS videos coming up. I'm waiting on a couple details. But when we get the FreeNAS videos, we will do, what do you call it? A whole series on it, and we're going to talk about some of the low-powered options for FreeNAS. The biggest reason for FreeNAS is ZFS, hands down. And this actually, me and Jay had a great discussion about this just the other day. I'll read comments real quick before you jump into this. FreeNAS plus USB. No, FreeNAS is not compiled for ARM that I know of. They must have Flex for ARM. It runs on MediaTek Synology units. Interesting. I know the Synology we have are x86 that run Plex, but maybe there is. I've not really dug into that. Anyways, so one of the things about when you build a FreeNAS and BSD with ZFS is that whole ZFS layer. And I bring this up because Jay lost some data, and this was what got him using FreeBSD with FreeNAS in ZFS. The data he had lost was some pictures. He was trying to move them around. He noticed some of them were just broken, and they were pictures he had stored. And he's like, wow, these are corrupted. Turns out, even though it was on a RAID array, some of the RAID on a standard, Linux RAID array had just become corrupted. It was a lot of old photos he had. It was random corruption of those photos. He also had some random corruption. If you don't know, Jay from Learn Linux TV also plays a lot of the emulation games. He's got some videos on that. He had a couple ROMs that had become corrupt as well, and he didn't realize they were corrupted. So it turns out that they refer to it as like bit rot. There was just some goofy stuff going on with the RAID array. Copied all the data off. Now you can move the files around, but some of the content of the files have become goofed. And this can be a problem with RAID arrays. ZFS is kind of the solution to that. This is one of the reasons, because of the way ZFS scrubs work and the way it is constantly validating the integrity of the data you have, it's a better long-term version or long-term method to store all your data. I have photos dating back to 1996 or 7 when I bought one of those Sony floppy cameras. I have those photos to this day. Everything I took with that, like I've been doing digital stuff for a long time. And back then it wasn't ZFS, but I've always kept my data spinning, as they refer to it. So instead of archiving all the data, I always keep it somewhere, and I've migrated it until it's currently sitting on a FreeBSD system with ZFS. I keep that running with all my history, which is funny because it seemed like a lot of data then. Because of the curve of way technology advances, it's not even a lot of data. Like what I thought was a lot, like how am I going to store all this? Now it's kind of like, this is a blip. Now videos are currently my dilemma of what do I do with all this video I have. Oh, someone says, hi, Tom. Been a long time since I asked this question. How's your wife doing working on a retirement plan? Still no plan, or is the wife on top? She's on top of it. I don't know. We have some retirement fund somewhere. I have no idea. I do have an idea. I know I'm the beneficiary, so I have an idea. I don't look at how much is in there. I don't dig into any of that. It's the least fascinating thing to me. I don't care. She still works in finance, but she did change jobs. She doesn't work for Quicken Loans anymore. She works for a bank. It's one of those things. You work for Quicken Loans for a while, they burn you out, and you go ask, and you have offers thrown at you for banks that want you to work in their mortgage departments or in their small business department because of the training you get at Quicken Loans. So now she works for a bank, but yeah, she takes care of the finances and things like that for retirement. I'm super frugal with money, so I don't think as much about it. Like, I put money in savings. I don't really have payments on things. I very rarely waste money on anything. I'm boring. Like, I'm so frugal, I'm boring. So I don't have expensive taste in things. I wear swag shirts or my shirts. I got my Cat 6 shirt on today. Most of my closet is not just Lawrence System shirts, but they're all a bunch of swag shirts I picked up places. That's pretty much, like, I don't spend money on much at all. I eat at home a lot, so I can't even say I waste money on going out to eat. It's I do go out to eat sometimes, but for the most part, I'm like eating at home all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyways, time to get my Tesla. Yes, actually, I did order a Tesla. So that is, you guys just learned that. I was going to do a video when I get it. I am agitated, minor, and I'm going to walk through the process of when I bought a Tesla. I'm going to do a whole video on it, and we may or may not turn it into a hacker car. We were talking with Xavier yesterday, and car hacking is cool. You can register your Tesla for hacking, so that may be something we do. So that's definitely a peer pressure is part of what did it, and the fact that I need another car. So my car, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't need to replace it, but I told my daughter I'd give her a car for graduation. So she graduated, she did great, and so these are going to be her keys. So this will be here. I'm hiding the keys. If you didn't know why I'm doing this, let me show you something here. I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to talk about it. Don't take pictures of your keys, and like I'll show you the base of the key, which I don't really have much on here, but Johnny Christmas made himself famous in the hacking world because the TSA held up a picture of their key, their universal key, and then he said, hey, from that picture I can print that key, and he did, and so anyways, Model Y looks pretty cool too. Test drive Model 3, you want to buy a Model 3? Yeah, I didn't just test drive it. My friend let me kind of borrow his. Well, I borrowed it for like 45 minutes. And I was like, I'm sold. Like, this is a great car. And everything about it I really like. So I went and got the Model 3. I did not go with the performance package because, the problem with the Model 3 Performance is I live in Michigan, and I don't like the low-profile rims. They are very problematic here in Michigan because our roads are terrible. Matter of fact, I now have a messed up rim on my motorcycle because of a pothole so big. Someone pushed me over with a car. I was quite angry, and I whacked a pothole and bent a rim on a motorcycle. That's how bad our roads are here. We consistently win the worst roads in America right here in Detroit. So 20-inch low profiles that come on a performance model of the Model 3, problematic. Anyone who has low profile rims are like, oh yeah, I've broke a rim here, broke a rim there. It isn't worth it. And being that the Tesla's a heavier vehicle, I don't want to risk having broken rim problems here. Oh, let's see. What are your thoughts on ButterFS? Like a Synology kind of similar to ZFS, but some vendors have dropped it recently. Red Hat, blah, blah, blah. Are Synology barking up the wrong tree, persisting with it, in your opinion? Yes, they are. I like Synology. ButterFS is not bad. I'm glad to see some competition in the market, but the other side of it is it's just not as robust. I've talked to developers working at Ubuntu that were telling me the same thing in their own testing. Like, they really liked ZFS better, and some of their back-end systems were running on it. It was like a discussion I had with a couple of minutes. It just comes down to ZFS is extremely well researched, extremely robust, and it just works. So it's ButterFS. I mean, ButterFS does have some advantages, like the expanding RAID array problem. Yay, they have that works. Downside is ButterFS just doesn't have the robustness. It's basically a lot like, and I've not dug deeply into it. I know it's a lot like ZFS. It does have a lot of the things to help prevent bit rot, but it doesn't seem overall quite as robust. Like I said, I've not dug into it in a while. I remember when it came out, I was like, hey, this is neat, and then I kind of fell off about it. Well, here's the thing. You can run ZFS with less memory. That is a myth that you need is a lot of memory. You need memory if you want performance out of ZFS. You can set up low memory environments to run ZFS, but it will have a massive performance hit for it. And a lot of the memory is used for caching on it. Matter of fact, do I still have mine open? My FreeNAS? If we look at the memory usage on mine, you'll notice that it's barely using anything. So this has 32 gigs of RAM, but we're only using right now 20 gigs. And the reason why And this is where there's the myth of ZFS. Maybe I should do a myth of ZFS. So let's look at the pool I have here. So if we go to storage, look at the pool. So what do we have here? 12 terabytes of usable storage set up in here. And with all this storage, why isn't it using all that memory? Because, there's this myth out there that you have to have. It won't work if you don't. If you go into forums, there's those people mashing the keyboard in all caps. For every terabyte of storage, you need a gig of RAM. So why isn't it using all this? Those are where everyone starts getting confused on this. It only uses it for certain amounts of caching, so it really comes down to the use case you're using it for. That's what drives the memory usage on there. So that is the huge difference when you're doing these is, hey, I forgot about this one. Forgot I left this on. But that's going to be where the discrepancy comes in. You only need a lot of memory for caching. If you just need it for raw storage, you can actually build some really, and we have some clients with some very large cold storage, but still spinning is the way I would describe it. They built some big machines, 200 terabyte machines that just store data. They just need data that is rarely ever accessed, kind of more like archival and needed on rare occasions, and they didn't want to just stick it in a cloud somewhere. They just too much of it, so they said, well, let's just warehouse a lot of this ourselves at our 2 separate data centers and replicate it, and we helped set that up for them. And it doesn't have a lot of memory in those because we know it's not going to be fast, but fast retrieval's not, it's archival, it's not a fast retrieval scenario for them. And keeping it spinning, as I said, is important because, well, if new data standards come out, or if anytime you have a bunch of stuff turned off, there's always a worry of will it turn back on. The systems all send notices if any hard drives fail, and they can move them around. And they slowly are creeping data over to it. So it's like it has to be online because about once a month they move some data back over to it as they rotate things out of service. So let's see, let's catch up here. Yeah, RAM is used for read cache primarily, so Synology baseline versus IX Systems baseline. That's actually incorrect. You can get a FreeNAS Mini for under $1,000. So, if anyone was wondering, so we'll look over to here. You can get these. I mean, Synologies are going to be a little bit less expensive. You're not wrong. So, if you get, and we'll look at the FreeNAS Mini is what I'm talking about here. It is a nice little system. We've reviewed one, but they're in the $1,000 range. So, I mean, they're not cheap. Synology does make a less expensive box. You would not be wrong if you said that. But, no, they don't have them in their Amazon store at the moment. But either way, you get the idea. Yes, you can get a FreeNAS Mini. FreeNAS Mini, they're generally going in that $1,000, not $3,000 price point. But that's still for the FreeNAS Mini. Yes, when you get over to the TrueNAS side of it, it's going to be a lot more expensive. But when it comes to enterprise storage, TrueNAS, amazing stuff. Like, hands down, just awesome. Yeah, one of the reasons we like this Synology is because, and there's one, it's just out of frame, but you guys have probably seen it sitting on the rack. That's our demo one, and I have a whole lot more demos that we're going to be doing with it. Matter of fact, we just finished. We just finished, and I'm going to be doing. I have a lot of debrief videos. This is what I got to catch up on. Hopefully, I will do one today. I'm going to fly my drone over to a place where we used a site-to-site system to tie together cameras and a whole surveillance system for a client. And it's all running on a Synology. So we're going to talk about Synology Surveillance Station, all the cameras we used, how we set up the site-to-site, how we designed it. So it's going to be a good debrief video of all the components involved and like how you plan things out. So I think it's where people get confused is sometimes is how to plan it out. So I'm going to do some of the planning videos and break it all down. Like this is what, this is how we looked at it. This is how we bid it. These are the things we had to do. And I'm even going to talk about the pain in the butt part of contacting people and how we had to coordinate with a commercial company to let us in their building to drill a hole in it because, and this is something that you have to tell your clients. And the client was pretty cool about this. So the client is the manager of the property and also has a venue inside this property, but they then sublease the property out to other tenants. So they have some leeway with it. So they're like, we want a camera on that building that's not ours. So then we had to coordinate with who they subleased that building to get permission to bolt the camera, because they wanted a view of the venue from the other side. But the only way to do that was to punch a hole in the wall of that other building. Now, they own the building, but it is subleased out, so that requires some vendor. And I kind of want to talk through the process of just how you get all that done. And, you know, it's not too hard to do, but there's a little bit of planning and thinking. So it's some of the non-technical skills you have to set up and schedule time. It's not rocket science, but it's just something you can think about when you consider this. Then, how do you get across to the other building? Well, we just put a site-to-site wireless over there. So we've got cameras on the other person's building. We have a site-to-site wireless. We just borrow a few volts of electricity. The client, and for people wondering, well, you know, what about their electric bill? Yeah, I think it's like 30 watts of power per pole, and they're okay. It's not even a light bulb. Well, I guess it's an LED light bulb, so they're pretty low power. So it's, you know, that's going to be a fun project video. And I'm going to do some follow-up videos. We did a large, well, I guess you would call it, it's not a quarry, but it's a place where they crush rocks and move aggregate, and it's a couple acre property. And a couple years ago, we put a big site-to-site system with cameras all around and to provide internet to all the buildings. And that's been working great for a few years. So I want to follow up on that and say, hey, this is how we designed it. And part of the reason that's fun to do a follow-up video after it's all installed, because there's a lot of people that will, I talk about how we're going to do something. And there's always people going, it won't work that way. Well, when I follow up with something that's been in place working for a couple of years, I've now proved that person wrong, and it's a better real-world test. Because a lot of YouTubers that they do reviews, their reviews are not based on long-term usage. They're kind of like, hey, we got this fancy new shiny product. I played with it for an hour. It's cool. Let me tell you about it. You learn much more when you've had something deployed for 2 years and you've done firmware updates and you've updated settings and you've survived several seasons of weather and rain and go, okay, now I can trust this outdoor unit and say, yes, this outdoor system works really well. What happened to the security talks? They're still going. We're 17 episodes in, and they're on the How They Got Hacked channel. We moved it to a separate channel. And why do we move it to a separate channel? One, it's just different content. Two, we swear. Three, we were worried about something that just came out the other day, which YouTube is making changes to how they view hacking channels. So I don't want to have this channel potentially shut down because we talk about people and how they got hacked. So we moved all that content to the How They Got Hacked channel. Follow me on Twitter. I tweet out all of our videos and everything on there. That's like I didn't use Twitter a lot before I got into YouTube. I use it a lot more now because it's the easiest way to tell people. One, I mean, obviously you could follow my blogs. I talk about it all the time, but that requires more reading. If you just go on Twitter, I don't overtweet. I tweet mostly things like my videos or things I'm actively reading and working on that are of interest. So there's like just a couple tweets a day. It's an easy way to keep up with things. Someone asked if I do a newsletter, and I'm like, I won't type it up. But easy. I tweet out things that I'm discussing or that are upcoming, and I tweet out most all my videos. Let's see. So we have a Ubiquiti M5 set up P2P. It was set up for a basic connection. Now we have cameras on the other end. Do we need to upgrade to the AC version? With cameras showing low bandwidth, possibly. The cameras don't take that much bandwidth, but they can if you're doing 1080 streams or 4K streams. And look that up. Look at what speed you're running and do a speed test. Generally speaking, you can run a handful of cameras off a lower connection because cameras don't need that much. And how do I know that? Netflix. How much does it take to run a 1080 Netflix stream? Which is, by the way, more frames and higher quality than most of the cameras. Netflix runs on like 3 megs. So can you get 3 megs across the pipe? Probably. But multiply that times how many cameras. Okay, now we start having a problem where you will run on a bandwidth at some point. But generally speaking, matter of fact, the older Ubiquiti cameras, they only connect at 100. That's all they need. I think they still do. That's all they need. They don't need much more speed than that. So, oh yeah, we need to put a profile picture on it. That's on a to-do list for sure. We need to do some graphics and everything for it. It's something we're working on. Yeah. Yep, and continuous remag. So it's bursts of it, but do speed tests. You can Ubiquiti M5 has the ability to speed test because they're fast enough. They should route it. I mean, I can't remember the specs exactly, but don't those go up to 200 megs or something? I'm trying to remember. Do speed tests on them to see if they can. At least should be able to get 100. And if they're out of alignment, out of tune, yeah, they're definitely going to be dropping. So try tuning it first and. Once that's established and you go, okay, I've got this established, good, cool, now we can move on and say, okay, this will work, and you may not have to replace them because you may just have a tuning issue. So if you're using Synology Surveillance Station for the project, setting up the NVR 1218 mix, yep. Yeah, I haven't had any problems with it. The licenses are reasonably priced. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to do a few videos on. I'm going to do probably first a video on Surveillance Station and the licensing model and how it works, and then I'm going to do the project video because the project's installed, completed. We finished it actually yesterday afternoon. So that one, well, yesterday afternoon is actually wrong. We actually finished it a couple weeks ago. We went and adjusted it and finally were able to turn something on the last camera. So it's actually been running for a little while, but yesterday afternoon was officially when it got billed and invoiced. So look up how they got hacked. You'll find the channel. I have a Phantom 4? Phantom 4 Pro? Phantom 4. I don't know if it's a Pro model. I can't remember. So I've got a couple drone videos you can find that are floating around. If you look on my channel, it says what drone it is. So search drone on my channel. You'll find it. Interview Chris Buechler. He started PF Sense and has since moved to Ubiquiti. I bet he knows some stuff valid to your viewers. Yeah, I mean, cool idea, but will he do an interview? Not everybody wants to do an interview. I know that because I ask people sometimes, and I don't hear back from them. So cool that he's a former PF Sense person, now moved over to Ubiquiti, but I don't know if he wants to do an interview. On that note, this is something that is driving me that I'm going to do some more videos on the USG, and it's not to, I'm sure the Ubiquiti people will not be so happy, but why I don't use a USG is going to be the video. And it's because I get all these people messaging me, and it's a common request for service is, hey, I'm trying to get the USG to do blah. And then my reply isn't, it's this much to help you set it up. My reply is, it doesn't do that. And then someone will point out, well, can't you just edit the JSON config file and do it? Yes. Why would I want to have to hand edit a file that sometimes doesn't survive upgrades, as I've been told by numerous people, and then it breaks again? Like, USGs are not a problem in terms of security. They're a lack of features. So they constantly, people who want to do more advanced things with them because they've seen it done in PF Sense and hope they could do it in the USG, sorry for your luck. I don't know when they're ever going to add more features to it. And people say, well, what about the USG 4 Pro? Surely a device that costs as much as that would have more features. No, it's just a bigger, faster version of the small one. The feature set's the same in both because the features are defined by the UniFi SDN controller. It doesn't unlock magic features because you get the bigger one. It just goes faster. And it has more ports, so it does open up that, but that's a physical difference, not a software difference. So I'm going to be doing some videos on that and kind of saying when you should and when you shouldn't. And when you should, and we do use them, we have like hair salons, we have small offices, insurance companies. They all use USGs. They don't use VPN. They just need to route internet. Works great for that. No problems at all. Once you go, but I want ad blocking and PF blocker and blah, 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 and features like that. Sorry. This is where the USG kind of falls short. Do I ever use any MikroTik? No, not really. We like the UniFi. I'm going to do some Cadmium videos. Cadmium and UniFi both make really nice outdoor equipment. MikroTik, after looking at the interface, I don't like them at all. The interface is bad. The only redeeming quality they have is they're cheap. So unless they've made some massive changes last time I looked at them, everything seemed not undoable, just overly difficult and too many steps to do. I just didn't care for their interface. So they're cheap. So if you have lots of time to learn their goofy interface, cool. Go have at it. You can save a few dollars. If you want something that just works with a nice interface, Ubiquiti and Cadmium make nice stuff. What's my desktop of choice? I don't have one. I usually, historically, I've always built them, and I haven't had a reason to change. May happen one day. As of now, I still custom build them. This is a X250, for those of you wondering, ThinkPad. I still like ThinkPads. They're nice. Yes, and the USG XG, which I think was discontinued, same problem. There's still you don't unlock features with the USG. The problem is they just don't have features. So, Cambium. Yeah, I said the name wrong. I was looking for the box so I could try to say it right. I'm going to be doing a review of their Bridge in a Box and a few other things they have. I do like their products. They make some nice stuff. Yeah, there's probably, I think it's, I added the D. That's why I tried to look. I was trying to remember their name. It's like, it's over here. We actually did some testing with some of their equipment. I just haven't gotten around doing the videos on it. So it's definitely on my list here. For small business where there are 10 people working with large artwork files, around 200 meg transfer around the network. A NAS. I don't understand why you're asking me a network routing question combined with a data transfer internal. Are they trying to transfer data inside and outside the network? That's what you're mixing things up, perhaps. I don't know what you're asking. So, would I recommend the USG or USG Pro? Are they trying to get these meg files out of the network? If they are, go Pro. If it isn't, it's internal transfer, well, then just do it. So it doesn't matter. How weird it glitched. I think exactly the opposite of you. I don't want features as they are security risk. I further stay away from firmware as much as possible. Yeah, you do have to disable on the basic USG doesn't do any of the IPS, IDS stuff. It is a bottleneck on the USG. It's not fast enough. The USGs, which, let me grab it. This USG, I mean, it's just not, it doesn't have, I mean, it's a $100 device. It's not fast enough to do IDS and everything else. So it does it. It just slows the network connection down. So that's definitely going to be an issue. So yeah, if you want features, cool, go with a better system. So let's see. Yes, in my office we do have a 10 gig backplane. That is for sure. It is between all of it. Can you do a similar setup on the XCP server with FreeNAS VM on the server? Yeah, you can. You just have to have that server have a 10 gig connection. So, sorry I'm stretching. I've been sitting here too long. I usually do something a little bit more exercisey in the morning, and I didn't do it this morning because other issues. Any plans for using Ryzen CPUs which are released? Oh, yes. I'm excited to build some Ryzen systems. My next system is going to be a Ryzen. Whether or not it'll be based on the latest CPU, I don't know, but I do need to build a faster editing workstation. So that's definitely going to be a Ryzen. Things about my workstation that are important to me is quiet, quiet, and quiet. That is, like, I need it fast, but I need it really, really quiet because I don't want to deal with noise in my office when I'm recording tutorial videos. So I like USGs, but for features, pfSense Netgate, is there another alternative similar to USG with features and a dashboard for multiple units? Yeah, Untangle. Untangle works great for that. So look at Untangle. I did a video on it, I did a review. They have an entire managed dashboard. You can push updates and change rules and manage lots of clients. We use Untangle for some of them. Untangle's nice. It is open source, but you have to buy licenses for the extra features like the filtering and things like that because it's the feed. So it's still an open source firewall. It just needs those other things on there. So yeah, take a look at those. Untangle's a nice setup with the management on there. Still having Intel shipping delay, Dell shortages because Intel shipping delays. Interesting. But the RJ45 on an RGBIS is just for power. Should be able to give data. I'll do if you're talking about like the Pro ones, and I have that sitting over here too. So these have, and this is the HD, but this comes on a few of them. There's 2 RJ45 ports. And this is so you can pass something through. This just acts as a switch port. It doesn't, so the power comes in, no power comes out, but I can plug in my computer to it so I can bridge through it. And I have a marina that we did. We did a few marinas, and I'm going to show the design of how you do a marina, and I'll show how you use the pass-through to make things work better. So that's going to be kind of cool. But that's ideal for that. That's what the extra port is for on the Pro Series or the HDs that have the extra port, is to pass it through. I don't use any of these in mesh mode until we have to. Don't do mesh unless it's needed. So I guess it's the... So switch ports are great for backhaul. I mean, you're limited to gigabit, so think about that. So you do have some bandwidth consideration. You only, if you have a gig and a lot of people on this, and then you're trying to pull data back through it again, you've now created some limitations. So it does depend. Like if you're trying to transfer passing through this a gig and you have users connected to it, you're all sharing one physical piece of medium. So it's not a bad backhaul, but think about what you're backhauling. That is where network planning, you kind of want the hub spoke of a core switch that is fed fast enough to supplement all the devices attached to it because of the shared medium. And with network speeds getting faster and faster and the high density of users that this will support, that can be a concern. Then you have to go up to the option of bonding things to this and then bonding the backhaul and getting a 10 gig connection. You know, it just goes out of control. You just got to buy 10 gig everything when you're done. Either one's fine. The Mesh Pro, look at the MIMO specs on it and think about your user density. The HD, I believe, supports more than the Mesh for user support. So that's what you are asking the question more. Think about how many devices are going to be attached to it. I believe you can do lag through these. I haven't tested. I'm almost positive they do it. I'm 99% sure that's an option on there. Not all of them have 10 gig ports. They make models. They make like the base station, which I have done a review on, that does have a 10 gig port on it. So there are models with it. I've seen a few people play with Ruckus. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I don't think they have a bad product. I haven't really done much with them. I think Chris from Crosstalk did a video on the Ruckus. Let's see, Ruckus Unleashed. Can't post URL for how they got hacked. If you search how they got hacked, you'll literally find it. I don't know. It'd probably let me post it. See the gap. So I don't really know what caused that. I'm going to look. Use our fancy Zabbix dashboard. And we'll look for the last hour. I can share this with you. So... I don't know. The stream looks steady. I don't see anything. Well, there was a spike right here. I wonder if that caused the stream to go. Analyzing it. Doesn't look like there's a couple spikes right here, but how big was this spike? Not much. How big was that spike? 10 megs. So something did spike the network there. It sends, oh, weird. Okay. Yeah, so not a big deal. This is Zabbix, for those of you that don't know, and it allows me to see what's going on with different devices, including it's how we monitor our pfSense. We actually have dashboards for some of the client ones in Zabbix as well. And a few people ask me about this. It's not hard to do. Zabbix is built in as a plugin for pfSense. Plug it in, load up Zabbix, and you can monitor multiple pfSenses. You can't push any changes to them. You can just see the network traffics and load and things like that. So it works pretty well for that. So, hey, thank you, Anderson Brittleson, throwing some money at me. Appreciate it. So let's see. That is funny that he unplugged the AP and we lost connection. Coincidental. It was plugged in. You are not wrong about that. So that's definitely a interesting. Extreme is buying Aerohive. So we removed a whole lot of Aerohives on a recent project. We had a person that was a big Aerohive fan, and another tech company I know, and they are not an Aerohive fan. They've had nothing but headache with them, they said, in the last couple of years. I didn't dig into the details, but we just did a rip and replace for 3 libraries and got rid of Aerohive and replaced it all with Unify. And the customer is, they said, substantially happier. Like they said everything works way better than it ever worked before. They like the dashboard better and everything else. So Zabbix is virtualized. So I virtualize everything. Why would I want to run anything directly on hardware? Basically, like for our server stacks and even what's running back here and the new lab machine that's coming soon. Matter of fact, we just stuck a bunch of SSDs in it. All of that is virtualized. It's just a easier way to do it. Just like virtualize all the things. So that's how I feel. Why run it in a real system? Because once you virtualize it, I can just move it around, change it over, because I want to move it to this network, that network, or move it over to the move it to another virtual machine, or when we upgrade hardware. Matter of fact, because we have clients running XCP-ng, that's what actually got me originally into the Citrix, was they were running Citrix. I'm like, this is neat, and I just went from there. One of the cool things is, like, when you do a client upgrade, when it's virtualized, it's beautiful. We bring in new server, we go over to Zen Orchestra, migrate, and we migrate them to the new server. That's it. All their stuff just gets faster, like magic. It's so nice. I heard the Cloud Managed pretty well. I don't think they actually care about wireless because they bought Zebra a few years ago. Yeah. I have offices 100 miles apart. Should I create separate sites in Unify? If you want to manage them separately, yes. But for some of our clients with multiple locations, what they like with Unify, and this is a strategy that we like, we have one dashboard for that client. So if we change a wireless setting, it changes it all the locations at the same time. That way, when they move from location to location, if the boss flies to the next spot, the wireless just connects without thinking about it. I prefer it that way, but maybe your use case is different and you need a separate location. If you're using a USG at each location, you will need to have separate ones because you can't have 2 USGs on there like that. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. I don't think it works, though. No, that wouldn't work. Yeah, you can't have it that way because it wouldn't know how to program them separately. So if you're using the USG head end, you'll need to keep them. You'll need to create separate sites. Your run domain controllers virtualized? Yes. Well, we don't have domain controllers, but for our clients, yes. Definitely we run those virtualized for sure. But we don't have a domain controller here, so we don't run ours because ours doesn't exist. We don't use Windows. The entire back end of my network is not Windows. There's no Windows systems. There's no Windows systems that we rely on at all. The only Windows system, and for someone who's splitting hairs, and don't point it out, but Tom, doesn't this stream run on a Windows system? Yes, it does, because this works in Windows. So yes, I don't know that this is dependent for my company or not. That's debatable, but I do run this on Windows, but nothing else. None of our servers run Windows. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Wi-Fi 6? Are you looking forward to Unify? Yeah, I don't care that much. I only have a 2.4 at home, and I say that because I have one of the original Unifys. Speed's not really been an issue for me, so cool, faster speeds. There's someone who will care. I have clients that'll care. Myself, I don't. So I guess it depends on how you ask the question. I do like that the new Wi-Fi standards are going to have better security. So that, except for the insecurity they had, but they're going to get better. So there's that. We actually just picked up a new customer who bought a server because was told they needed one, and they do file storage. They don't even know what Active Directory is. Yeah, that happens a lot. That's the thing. We're actually going to be doing some client migrations because we don't know why they need a server, but they do need some central management. It's going to be cheaper for them to just go with like Azure AD and manage all the access through the cloud and connect all the computers to it. I don't know how to do any videos on that, so I don't know how much interest there is, but I will say it's a good way to manage clients that don't need an on-prem server. And more and more all the time, we're dealing with clients who just don't have any use case for on-prem. They use Dropbox to synchronize a few documents. They use Google Drive or OneDrive to have their documents in the cloud and manage them and share them between people. And they work from home a lot. They're mobile. So it doesn't make sense to try to stick something in your office. We have an insurance agency with like 25 agents. They have 0 on-prem equipment. They just use Dropbox because they're used to using it. And an Office 365 account, voila. They do all their quoting, insurance, and everything that way. It works really well. Yeah, if you can deploy less and get more, that's always a good thing. Does UniFi encrypt the traffic between the device and the controller? Absolutely. We've actually poked at it and been trying to find a hole in it. So there's a pretty good Ubiquiti, I believe, is on the HackerOne. So if you do find a hole, you can report it. But so far, the encryption seems solid. And this is just a misunderstanding of security because they assume because of the port it runs on, it's insecure. Ports are irrelevant for that. They don't mean secure. So by default, UniFi adoptions go over port 8080, and they do use HTTP, but everything underlying that they send is fully encrypted. So just because it's using HTTP, they're just not using HTTPS. They don't use a TLS transport layer in HTTP. They have encryption they're using for the transport. It's just not happening over HTTPS. So yeah, there is not really an issue there. Matter of fact, there is some confusion that, let's say we take these two devices right here. We take the UniFi USG and we have this, but we put our cloud controller in there. No traffic data other than metadata, so to speak, like who's connected and things like that. But the actual traffic doesn't loop out to the cloud and back. One, that wouldn't make any sense. Two, so there's not as much of a security risk of it. It's just like the metadata, what IP addresses, in whatever logging information USG has will go out to the cloud. So if you host it in a cloud controller, I don't know that it's really a risk, but that information's out there. But when you get to the with this, it's not that big of a deal. That's why having a cloud controller versus on-prem, on-prem's nice, but having it in the cloud's not this big security problem because even the data going back and forth is all encrypted between the cloud and that. So, yeah, don't open RDP to the internet. Let's see. Have you ever heard of anything about Darktrace Cybersecurity Solutions claim to work with self-learning AI? Oh, yeah, I've heard everything. Man, there's all kinds of, what is that other? Cylance and their magical AI, if you haven't heard of them. So, isn't it Cylance? I think that's the one. There's a bunch of companies out there like this, because why not? Eliminate noise, experience silence, and our snazzy website. I don't think it's a bad product or anything. I just... Next Gen AV, EDR, services, AI platform. So there's a great, and I had a great conversation with Kyle from Huntress Labs. And like he said, and this is what gets him in trouble with vendors because he's like me. He thinks a lot about security. He deals a lot with the real world, not the marketing world. He's watched every product get run over. They're all doing best effort. They're doing machine learning, which is cool, to try to figure out if there's a problem, but it's still a reactive system. You're hoping it stops stuff. And it stops a lot of amateurs, so that's good. But yeah, it's all best effort. Security is all best effort. It's have a plan if you're breached. Have a walkthrough. AI intelligence, cool. You've added another layer that hopefully finds that connection. One of the clever things I'd seen a long time ago in the hacks was for egress to pilfer all the data. They had all the fancy stuff, but they were egressing through a Dropbox account. The company used Dropbox. There's no way to tell a bad Dropbox account from a good Dropbox account. No amount of AI, data's leaving. It's going out Dropbox. The NOC team goes, that's what it does. So no flags are raised until they found their data on the dark web for sale. Then they go, oh, they just exfiltrated everything from this other Dropbox account. That's where things get really tricky when you're doing this. They will, if someone's really after you, they're going to find that. But yeah, if you did things like egress filtering and IDS and go, hey, I'm blocking these known bad actors, cool. But some people get so focused on it and they drop their guard and go, yeah, I forgot to turn on two-factor. Matter of fact, I have to remember the name of the story. I'll find a link to it and tweet it out later. But someone had stolen all the backups. They didn't encrypt the backups. The company had great security on the inside. They were storing them in an open bucket. So they just went and got the bucket and downloaded all the backups of the company and had all their data with everything they needed without getting into the company at all. They're like, yeah, the walls were sturdy around that company. Great, excellent security, except for the part where they backed it up and didn't encrypt the backups. Do you know any open source for SFlow? Nope, nothing good. Not that I've seen. If you know of any, let me know. I have to know who actually thought opening RDP Internet was a good idea. Yeah, a bunch of MSPs that got hacked recently. They thought it was a great idea. They don't now. Someone probably told them, and now, whatever. Have I ever heard of Cybele Angel? Nope. There's so many companies opening up in the security space. I bet there's probably at least one a day, so they're hard to keep up with. Yeah, it does help to have all those things, like the multi-factor authentication. I'm not saying not to do that. Those are absolutely things you need to do. And so many times when we cover breaches, you look at the stupidity of the breach. They had, like the company that had all the right stuff on the inside, but then didn't encrypt the backups. You have to have everything. Security's really hard. You have to do everything top to bottom on there. The MSPs that got hacked, all of them didn't have 2FA properly enabled. That was a common thread between them. We don't know how they got their passwords. There's a great interview, Kyle. It's all posted on YouTube. There's a link I tweeted out about it where Kyle from Huntress Labs did an interview. You can find it I think it's on Huntress Labs blog as well. I attended the webinar as an audience member, but I go and watch the video of me and Kyle on my channel talking about how hard it is hunting down these threats, because once you have all these factors, you have to constantly be watching everything around there. So I never would say don't turn on everything, but I will say turn on everything and then go back and audit every now and then to make sure everything is still the same way. So single sign-on, if you have a compromised account, is instantly spreads to, yeah. Oh, yeah. I hate single sign-on for that. I actually did a video called How to Stop Ransomware with FreeNAS, and one of my rules is don't use the same root password for FreeNAS as you did for your Active Directory domain. Anytime there's a good hack, breakdown, debrief, they found the AD domain, and then they found even the backup servers were federated with a single sign-on, or were just using the same password because they wanted to be consistent. If you're using the same password on your backups and they find your AD password, they just go and delete your backups and then crypto ransomware, and that's common. I know it's convenient to have the same password for all of your servers. It's a horrible idea, though. It's how you create walls between the threats. My write speeds to FreeNAS are slow. I've given it everything. I've tested. I'm not sure. Double check your network settings. I'm not sure why you're having slow transfer speed. It's not enough information. Yeah. Yes, Huntress Labs. Yes, they are a vendor and sponsor at DattoCon as well. So, happy 4th. Woohoo. Aspen SNCC vendor. I don't know what that means. What password manager tools are available? Ridiculously easy to have unique, strong passwords for every service and device. Yeah, it is. So, you have a flat LAN layout, all devices on the LAN. Oh, I get it. Yeah, huge sec risk, right. It is. I have a video about how to segment your network and things like that. Awesome. 4-port Intel 100 ET. That's a pretty compatible card, so I don't really know why you would have slow write speeds. It's one of those things that I have built numerous FreeNAS systems, and I've not had problems with any of them, so I'm not the best at troubleshooting them because they just have worked when I built them. I know that sounds, I don't know, it's sad. I see people weird problems. I've looked into forums. I'm like, wow, how did you come up with that problem? Because I just haven't experienced these things. So I don't know. But like the FreeNAS box with 32 gigs of RAM that we have now is a super micro board. So I'm also a lot of times building them with server components. I built a couple of ones that were not. We have a build video which drew a lot of attention, a lot of hate because, you know, I didn't use ECC RAM, which apparently people have a big deal about, which I'm going to follow up on that again. Still running fine, no ECC RAM. So RAID 1 USB, yeah, that does write slow. I know that. Well, if you use them, I kind of have that problem. I have a pair of USBs in RAID because I wanted to try it. Turns out it works slower, so it does cause the USB read and writes to be slow. But the USB, once it boots up, it's fine. So it does have a much slower boot time, but once it's up and running, it works great. What else we got? Slow speeds turned out to be the length of the cable. Swapped out the cable. Yeah, that's interesting. You can run iPerf too to sort out network issues on FreeNAS as well. I highly recommend that. Hey, awesome. You got working pfSense box, XCP-NG. Next on the list is FreeNAS. Awesome. XCP-NG version 8 is around the corner. That's where our lab server is built on that we're going to be doing videos with, so that's kind of cool. Our lab server is I'm going to walk through all kinds of fun stuff, including virtualizing FreeNAS, because a lot of people asked about it, and I never really dug into it. I just know it needs direct interaction with the hardware. You can pass through the controller as an option. So instead, though, I built it and passed through the hard drives. I figured it might be possible, but I never actually tried it. Turns out it's easy to pass a hard drive through XCP-NG and hand off the hard drives to the underlying operating system. It only takes a few steps to do, and yeah, so I'll be doing a video on how to virtualize FreeNAS and pass through the hard drives, and they seem to work great like that. I'm also going to build a XCP-NG with ZFS as a storage, so it'll have storage. Oh, it says it's pausing again. I wonder what's causing these pauses. Oh, there it goes again. So I don't know what's causing the pausing on there. Let's see. I've done iPerf. I'm thinking it might be something with the drives. So, yeah. Yeah, the drive pass-through is definitely kind of neat. So being able to just say, these hard drives now belong to this VM. So, buffering. Huh. Let me go back over to my Zabbix here. Is there something going on? Nope, stream seems to be going out. Weird. So, is it still buffering? Yeah. Cloudflare BGP again. If you're having a problem getting to certain sections of your network after you do OpenVPN, check the routes. Make sure you added all the routes in OpenVPN that you want to get to. Like if your network is segmented out, you have to push all those in there. Yeah, my upload pipe has a high load. I will admit I had trouble getting the stream started because YouTube kept telling me live stream not available. So I will possibly say YouTube is having problems. It's hard to say. I kept having to move the stream back. It just wouldn't let me start this morning. I would do it, and it would spin, and it would say YouTube live stream unavailable. Like YouTube's page would stop loading before I even got the stream started. So I don't really know. So anyways, I'm going to actually cut it off here because I do have a few things I have to get done, and I got to take the kids places, and there's all this stuff to go do. So I'm going to go jump on and go do all that fun stuff. Yeah. Switched over here to 480. Woohoo! Anyways, as always, follow me on the Twitter. I post all the stuff there. Not hard to find out what I'm doing. A lot of people, I find it weird when people take the time to fill out my contact form to ask me something that I can literally copy and paste in to my channel search or a Google search, and we'll find you those results, but you can. go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Join our forums, forums.lawrencesystems.com. I'm very active there. I post a lot of the videos there as well. So I try to be as forthcoming and put information out everywhere as much as possible. You can find everything at lawrencesystems.com, which links to everything else. So let's see. Check out the capture on CPU. Oh, yeah. Leak voltages, blah, blah. Yep. Anyone doing a big 4th of July fireworks show, let me know. I'll be posting ours. Awesome. I am not. We're not doing much at all. I don't really have any plans. The kids want to go swimming. That's the kids want to do stuff. So I got kids stuff to do today. I told them I'd take them around doing stuff today. That's as much as my plan is, to ride motorcycles and do some stuff with the kids. I think that's about it. Well, anyways, thank you for all joining me. Like I said, join the forums. Hey, thank you very much, Daryl Winsinger. Awesome. Thanks for the vids. Have my free super chat. Thank you. So throwing money at me always makes me happy. We are funded by people watching videos and sometimes people hiring us. It's a lot of work creating all the content. That's why we're working on, I'm hopefully going to have, they're just kind of been slow to create it, but we're going to be doing some channel sponsors. And it's good. They're going to be supplying us some hardware and things like that. So I'm not going to be, I'm trying to avoid, I should say, doing the usual ad runs that everybody else does. I want to have an ad that is both a product we use, a product we would recommend to others, and that we have some affiliate link for, but it actually has value. Because look, I know Audible is a cool company, but I'm kind of sick of every YouTube video having an offer from Audible. So, oh, well, I'm going to press the little spinny button here that makes the live stream stop and get another cup of coffee because I definitely need that. It's still, I wake up early, but I had a late night, so I woke up a little bit later, and now I need a lot more coffee to get my day going. All right, thanks. As always, like I said, post in the forums, tweet at me, and all that fun stuff. Awesome, thanks, and have a wonderful day, and enjoy your 4th of July in America, and enjoy it if you're outside of America, too. And then enjoy July 5th when you see all the stories of people who didn't let go of the firecracker, because that's going to happen a lot. I have a few friends that are EMTs. They're going to have stories. They always do. All right, thanks.